Whenever 2 or 3 dog breeders get together, it is almost certain that one speaks of lineage. The term can be used without any of them having a real understanding of what it means. There seems to be a lot of confusion, even in the minds of experienced dog breeders, about what the terms inbreeding and lineage really mean and how to differentiate between them. The main objective of this article will therefore be to try to explain, as simply as possible, these two breeding methods, as well as why they are used and what to expect from them. When covering these types of reproduction, the subject of the crossover must necessarily come into play. We must know exactly what we mean when we speak of inbreeding, lineage and crossbreeding. Few creators have a clear conception of where one ends and the other begins. Before providing a larger definition as to what is meant by the above creation systems, the following short explanations are given. In the broadest sense, they contain the essence of the whole subject. Line breeding is the mating of animals that are closely related to the same ancestor, preferably one whose type one wishes to obtain in the resulting progeny. In other words, this is achieved by using as such dogs that are closely related to this ancestor, but little or nothing related to each other through any other ancestors. They are, in fact, bred in line with that common ancestor. When a breeder says that their dog is bred online, they immediately ask themselves, online breeding for what? As we will see later, the answer to this question allows us to evaluate some of the wisdom of having used this type of creation in each case. Inbreeding implies a much closer relationship between the mating pair than the breeding line. Rather than involving the second, third, or more distant generations, it is generally understood to have to do with just 4 relationships: son to mother, father to daughter, brother to sister, half-brother to half-sister, both having the same father. And different children, or the same lady with different fathers. It must be remembered that in mating the progeny of 2 litters, with the same parents, they are mating full-blooded brothers and sisters. And this is also inbreeding. Family reproduction. There is not complete agreement of opinion among breeders as to where inbreeding replaces inbreeding, as the former is only a modification of the latter. We found that both terms are used somewhat loosely. That there are various relationships in between, which are labeled inbreeding for some, and lineage for others. It is difficult to make any uncontested definition of the 2 terms, if not impossible. It would just be confusing what some breeders consider to be inbreeding, and others consider lineage, such as crossing a dog with a half-brother or half-sister of a parent. There are several other matings of relationship, so intimately involved, about which there are similar differences of opinion. However, in the broader and more commonly accepted meanings of lineage and inbreeding, the reader should understand that there is an area of reproduction between interrelated animals that is not fully covered by the terms inbreeding and inline reproduction as defined here. For this type of breeding I used the term family reproduction for years, which, as far as I know, I created myself. Since family reproduction is simply an extension of both inbreeding and lineage, what I have to say about this applies to some extent, of course, to family rearing. Why inbred or line breed? Although it is important to understand that there are some differences in the mating selection of dogs. When using the inbreeding and lineage systems, it is much more valuable to know why these types of breeding are so often done. And because they are used by almost all successful breeders. The purpose of both line breeding and inbreeding is to bring about improvement in the breed. It's to get the best out of the matings possible, and to update your stock. Experience has shown that more than mere multiplication must be obtained. And any further and lasting results for the improvement of the breed must be obtained. A breeder must use a line breeding system, which does not just match animals that are very similar in their characteristics, but it also restricts the pedigree to a few closely related lines of descent. This purifies the pedigree quickly, and allows the breeder to control all traits to some extent. It discourages variability, and reduces it to a minimum. Benefits. The results obtained by this breeding system can be predicted with more certainty, much more than the average breeder imagines. In fact, there are few dog breeders, who do nothing more than mate a bitch with a dog, and wait for results, which there is no scientific reason to expect. When, by luck, one or two above average offspring appear, they have nothing behind them to base an expectation that they will convey your desirable characteristics. On the other hand, when such superior offspring are produced by lineage, improvement is shown. It is supported by the most powerful hereditary influence that can be obtained because of the simplicity and strength of the ancestry. If the selection of this ancestry was good, the pulls are all in the same direction. The records of all breeds show the pronounced health results that come from judicious breeding. Disadvantages selection based only on pedigrees, without taking into account the physical characteristics of the mated pair, is the main danger of this reproduction system. The writer can state in the following few words the most important advice for those who are going to try bloodline breeding. Physical compensation is the cornerstone upon which all lasting value must be built. A bloodline pedigree is valuable or dangerous in exact proportion to which individuals have been selected. Line creation does not replace selection, but rather requires more judicious choice within the line. If the breeder selects solely on pedigree, and without regard to physical compensation, dogs with notable flaws will undoubtedly result, and therefore line breeding will ensure failure more quickly and more surely than any other known breeding system. No other breeding plan has brought the same good results as line breeding, and no other system will be as powerful in producing consistently good animals year after year for sure. The main requirement is not to abandon individual selection. A pedigree is a guarantee of pedigrees, a record of the blood of ancestors within which breeding and selection operations can confidently be confined. The word confined is used with caution because, after inline breeding has been practiced for a few generations, the end result is the development of what is in fact a purebred. A race within a race, so to speak. When this occurs, any attempt to introduce cold blood, i.e., that of unrelated dogs, those of other lineages, will likely result in hybridization penalties. Deviation from the lineage is a kind of crossbreeding to a small degree, for when the blood of animals bred by the lineage intensifies, they take on all the attributes of a distinct lineage, which in fact they are, and are likely to behave as such. For a long time. Lineage. In saying that dogs bred in line tend to become like purebreds, or bloodlines within their breeds, and that their progeny from a mating with unrelated animals is like hybrids. I don't mean to say that such crosses should never be done, or that the results would be like creating an entirely different breed of dog. Although in some animal lineages lineage and inbreeding have been intensified to the point where a herd or herd is practically a breed of its own, I personally know of no such family in any dog breed today. However, there have been bloodlines developed in some breeds to the point where their blood has become so dominant that it will not yield for several generations to any noticeable admixture when crossed, the traits of the inbred parent or bloodline always appearing, this being of course to be expected. In the dog game, those who criticize the inline breeding system far outnumber its proponents. This is true for several reasons. There is a continual stream of beginners to dog breeding, people who have never bred one animal to another or done any study on the subject. In their ignorance, they believe that breeding two dogs with pedigrees, especially if they are both winners, or rather veterans, champions, is all there is. So there are a multitude of breeders who refuse to take the time to do any genetic studies, who just want to breed dogs to sell and make money, and who have no interest in improving the breed through years of planned effort. Again, we have many creators hoping for good luck. That sometimes hits newbies who, by sheer accident, come up with a real toppers or two. Fortunately, in almost every breed of dog there are a few breeders intent on consistently producing superior dogs than the breed average. Many of them know that the quickest and surest way to do this is by lineage. Inbreeding. As lineage creation is practiced more generally than inbreeding, I have dwelled more on the former so far in this article. The difference in relatedness of mated pairs, as generally accepted by breeders, has been explained, however. It might be well now to delve deeper into the subject of inbreeding. This is continuous play and is line building taken to its limits. It has all the advantages and disadvantages of line breeding to its maximum attainable degree. Mating a daughter to her father gives rise to offspring with 3/4 of the father's bloodlines, a practice which, if continued, would soon result in progeny with only one line of ancestry, virtually eliminating the blood of the original mother. On the other hand, when a mother is bred with her child or children successively, the mother's blood increases. This form is practiced when one wishes to preserve and intensify the mother's lineages. Both systems can, of course, be approximated by using a granddaughter or grandson. The joint rearing of brother and sister is inbreeding, which preserves the lineages of both father and mother in equal proportions. It is inferior to any of the others as a means of strengthening previously existing bloodlines, but is freely employed when the combination of father and mother, brother and sister, has proved exceptionally successful, virtually establishing a new type. It has all the dangers of the other two types of inbreeding, and in a greater degree because we have no knowledge of what the new combination will produce, whereas by strengthening the proportion of one line of ancestry over another, whether that of father or mother, we are dealing with previously existing lineages known to be harmonious. Advantages of consanguinity. As stated earlier, it is line breeding conquered to its highest degree. When superior animals are used, it is the most powerful and surest way known to make the most of their excellence and to perpetuate it. It is the method by which the greatest possible percentage of the blood of an exceptional dog, or a particularly fortunate cut, can be maintained, fused and ultimately influenced through an entire line of descent. If continued, the outside blood disappears and the pedigree is quickly carried almost limitlessly by the blood of a single animal, or two at the most. In practice, it is usually that of a parent. Inbreeding is not so much a matter of bringing about excellence as of maintaining it and making the greatest use of it when it appears. An inbred dog is, of course, much more boastful than one that has been crossed. Your half of the ancestry with large amounts of identical blood will almost certainly dominate the offspring when mated to someone of the opposite sex with an open pedigree. An open pedigree is one in which no dog's name appears more than once in perhaps several generations. Inbreeding is therefore recognized as the most influential of all breeding plans or systems, providing the simplest of all pedigrees. An advantage when we recognize the laws of inheritance. It's everything line breeding is and more. When using any of the systems, it must again be cautioned that careful selection must be continually made, as far as physical compensation is concerned, as well as vigor and fertility. Concluding on the question of the advantages of inbreeding, I will repeat, no other breeding method can match this one for intensifying bloodlines, making the best use of exceptional individuals, and building a lineage within a breed. Disadvantages of inbreeding. While doubling and intensifying traits by this method of breeding ensures results that are more likely than possible, and if continued long enough is a certainty, it works the same for one trait as it does for another, both good and bad. It affects all characteristics of the animals involved. This is why, unless a breeder knows a good individual of his breed when he sees one, or has the right stock to start with, inbreeding can spell disaster. On the other hand, when the opposite is true, the most remarkably successful results can be obtained. Examples of success are many, but we can also cite many failures among those who have abandoned the game, and whose tensions have disappeared or are disappearing. Inbreeding not necessarily disastrous. Undeniably, no form of creation has so many condemners, most of them totally ignorant on the subject. They claim it causes lack of vigor, size and fertility, and a multitude of such cases could certainly be listed. However, if what has been written here, and has been proven by countless tests and examples, means anything, it is that any trait can be increased or decreased, strengthened or weakened, by this method of breeding. Part of what we know about the results of inbreeding in animals comes from the scattered and irregularly reported experiences of breeders. It is difficult to be certain that the evidence against inbreeding came from the use of animals that were typical of their breed and should have been inbred from the start. There is also the question of whether one hears about the usual effects of such crosses or just exceptionally bad ones. Anything undesirable that appears can be attributed to inbreeding, despite the fact that equally bad results often occur when no inbreeding has been done. There is usually no way to make comparisons, that is, with outbred animals kept in the same conditions, fed and raised in the same way. Since it is universally accepted by all breeders and geneticists that any trait can be improved or diminished, strengthened or weakened, by inbreeding, provided strict selection is followed, why then this claim that it will bring about a loss of size, vigor and fertility? Are there any inherent traits, which come from close breeding, or is it just that lack of vigor and fertility are commonly possessed traits and frequently appear? Many think it is the latter. There are so many examples of great vigor and fertility in consanguineous individuals and in family lines, and even in whole species of plants and animals, that it avoids all fear of inevitable weaknesses of close breeding, but it does not take much investigation to indicate to us that there is weakness and infertility lurking everywhere. It is particularly evident in humans and domesticated animals. A large number of animals and a seemingly larger number of plants are relatively weak and easily succumb to disease. In nature, the strongest live and bear children, while the weak die. In animal husbandry we are apt to select largely for show or kind of utility, yet even for color, ignoring or relying on luck for vigor and fertility. Is it any wonder, then, that these traits have crept up on us until, 10 out of 10, they present a strong argument against inbreeding, even though they also appear among fully crossbred dogs? In animal husbandry we are apt to select largely for show or kind of utility, yet even for color, ignoring or relying on luck for vigor and fertility. Is it any wonder, then, that these traits have crept up on us until, 10 out of 10, they present a strong argument against inbreeding, even though they also appear among fully crossbred dogs. In animal husbandry we are apt to select largely for show or kind of utility, yet even for color, ignoring or relying on luck for vigor and fertility. Is it any wonder, then, that these traits have crept up on us until, 10 out of 10, they present a strong argument against inbreeding, even though they also appear among fully crossbred dogs? When we select vigor and fertility, as well as other attributes, we will say less about the evils of inbreeding. In the meantime, we will hear about this mainly where vitality and fertility have been low in the blood stock. As both are requirements, one to ensure life and the other for reproduction, they must be possessed to a high degree by the dogs intended to be bred. Charles Darwin learned from hundreds of experimental tests with plants and animals that outbreeding, or outbreeding, as we speak in dog breeding, generally increases vigor and fertility. He also found that this was not true of all individuals, or of all species, even those most sensitive to inbreeding. His experiments showed that the opposite sometimes occurred, weakness and infertility, and he could not solve the mystery of the cause. Much of this mystery, for which no explanation could be offered, has been largely dispelled by modern knowledge of heredity. It would take a lot of writing if I were to describe even some of his and many other scientists' experiments, as well as getting involved in complicated scientific terms. This I will refrain from doing, to keep my treatise as comprehensible as possible for the general reader, as I am not writing for experienced dog breeders or students of genetics. For them this article is elementary, with nothing provided that they don't already know. Recapitulation. For those for whom it was written, however, there follows a summary of the full effects of inbreeding and, to a modified degree, lineage. All good and bad traits exist to varying degrees in different dogs. The person desires in his matings to secure and retain desirable characteristics, and it is easily demonstrated that this can best be achieved by inbreeding and, to a lesser extent, by lineage. It is also easy to show that, using the same breeding methods, it is possible to obtain the lowest intensity of undesirable characteristics. The results depend entirely on the selection, remembering that physical compensation is the foundation stone on which all lasting value must be built.
My name is Rodolpho Luiz, and I invite everyone to enjoy the knowledge of this wonderful breed. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video. God bless you all. I went.